to This Is Now. I'm Dylan Ancheta alongside Ashley Nagaoka. Today has been declared a first alert weather day as a red flag warning is in effect until this evening.
Yeah, conditions are prime for fire danger, and that has the state on edge following those devastating wildfires on the Valley Isle. Casey Lund tells us how emergency responders are preparing.
Aloha from Lahaina, where the winds really picked up even earlier this morning, and the heat got to us pretty early in the morning as well. So conditions are ripe for extreme fire danger. I'm surrounded, as you can see, by dry grass. This has been cut down, but where the grass is higher, it's a really dangerous conditions. I want to show you we're just shy of the Lahaina fire station here, where they have additional resources on hand for today's red flag warning. More on what they have staged coming up in just a minute, but we want to talk about the conditions. Those gusts throughout the morning kind of picked up and went away, but we expect them to be in the 20, 30, 40 mile an hour range throughout the day. They could get that bad with gusts up to 50 miles an hour. Now, I was able to talk to the National Weather Service earlier today. The forecaster there told me it's not going to be what we saw on August 8th with those gusts up to 75 miles an hour, but still, those winds can create extreme conditions for a fire and can push it along very quickly. I also asked him about the topography of Maui specifically and how that can make those winds even more dangerous.
There's portions of the Maui that really can get funneled winds, especially like through the Maui Central Valley. And there's also downslope winds that can occur over and downwind of the terrain. So with the dry and stable air mass that sets up, it creates a cap where the winds can't spread around the mountains. They need to go up and over them. And it's kind of like blowing through the straw, where it'll end up accelerating the winds down the slope. And then you'll have the really, really strong downslope winds that develop, like what happened in the Lahaina area here on August 8th.
A reminder, there are several things you'll want to avoid today, especially parking in dry grass with your vehicle. That can start a fire easily. The National Weather Service said today is a day to practice extreme caution.
Any fire that develops today is going to spread rapidly, and it's going to be very difficult to control. So any outdoor burning activity should be avoided until these conditions end. Just be careful out there today. Don't be throwing cigarette butts out the window or anything that could catch flame, because everything's really, really dry right now, and we just need to use extra caution today.
Back out here at the Lahaina fire station, a little bit about the resources that they have in place to kind of keep an eye on things today. I was told that starting at 8:30 yesterday morning, they had about 15 spotters staged from Ukumehame Beach all the way up to Kapalua Airport, and they're working with the National Guard. Those are folks sitting and watching for fire starts and also keeping an eye on people's behavior. They also have their air resources, Air 2 at Wailea Fire Station staged, and Air 3 up above the Lahaina fire station as well. They have extra engines to provide relief, and they are on top of things, keeping an eye on this red flag warning first alert weather day. We, of course, will be pushing out alerts on your phone. Stay with us for the latest on air and online as conditions change, and be careful here, especially in West Maui. Reporting at Lahaina, I'm Casey Lund. For now, we'll send things back to you.
For an in-depth explanation of the red flag warning, let's hand things over to our first alert meteorologist, Drew Davis.
A red flag warning has been issued until 6 p.m. Thursday. High fire danger is expected across the entire island chain. A common question that we get here in the Hawaii News Now First Alert Weather Center is, what exactly is a red flag warning? The name doesn't exactly scream high fire danger. The National Weather Service issues these warnings whenever there is a combination of high winds, low relative humidity, and dry brush fuels across the island. They're forecasting for fires to spread rapidly. A red flag warning does not forecast for new fire starts. Leeward parts of Hawaii fit into this criteria right now. Sustained winds of 15 to 30 miles per hour and wind gusts up to 40 to 50 miles per hour. The strongest wind gusts will be downwind of higher terrain. We're not expecting as strong of winds as with Hurricane Dora's passing to the south, but you should still take caution with this weather setup. Minimum humidities of 45 to 55% are expected Wednesday night, and those are expected to drop even further on Thursday. And of course, we have dry brush fuels across the entire island chain. drought has severely worsened over the past several months. You can protect yourself and family from wildfires by using extreme caution with flames, avoiding parking on dry grass, clearing dry brush from around your home, clearing your roof and gutter of dead leaves, and trimming tall vegetation that could act as a ladder to any wildfires. And as always, download the Hawaii News Now First Alert weather app. We'll let you know as this forecast evolves.
Now, because of that red flag warning, the Kauai Island Utility Cooperative has decided to de-energize multiple power lines. One serves Koke'e and Makaha Ridge, another serves Mahalepu on the south side. KIUC says it will not restore power or fix outages from Port Allen to Mana until the red flag warning is lifted. Meanwhile, Hawaiian Electric says they will not be shutting off power despite the elevated fire risk. HECO says that would require coordination with emergency management officials, first responders, infrastructure owners, and regulators. But the utility says it's working with emergency officials on safety plans through the end of hurricane season.
There's a growing call for the leaders in charge of the disaster response on the day Lahaina burned to step down. HNN Investigates' Allison Blair has more.
More than 3 weeks after an inferno gutted Lahaina, not one state or county leader has taken responsibility for the failures that led to the deaths of what's likely hundreds of people.
Public outcry hit a new high after a press conference Tuesday when top officials refused to take onus for their part in an emergency communication breakdown that ultimately wiped out a town.
I'm not sure who was in charge.
We don't know how many other people maybe died waiting for a response. You don't think there's anything your agency? I personally don't think so.
The continued lack of accountability from top officials has prompted tens of thousands to sound off on social media, saying things like, "Really? This is what you say when so many lives have been lost?" And it was their job to be on high alert, calling answers pathetic, unprofessional, and lacking remorse. Many are baffled as to why the mayor wouldn't say where he was during the disaster and why it took more than 12 hours for the state's top emergency management leader to realize people were dead. Now there's a growing call for those in charge that day to either step down or be fired, particularly Mayor Richard Bisson.
If he wants to stay in the job, I think that that level of transparency needs to increase. If it looks like public officials are trying to hide something, all that does is add fuel to the fire of conspiracy rumors or people's frustrations.
Political scientist Colin Moore says over the past 3 weeks, there's been too much finger pointing between state and county leaders.
In a catastrophe of this magnitude, that's not satisfying. There were failures and those should be acknowledged. And I think for people at the very top, ultimately, this is their responsibility.
Moore says time to do that is quickly running out.
I would like to see more apologies made. At the end of the day, the purpose of government is to protect people. Government didn't protect people on that day, and so it was a failure. And that failure needs to be acknowledged.
Late today, Mayor Bisson responded to those calls to step down, saying in part, "Our people who are suffering immeasurable hardships are rightfully seeking and deserve answers," adding he will continue to bring forward state and federal resources, work with our affected communities, and leverage all we can to help our recovery efforts and our island's future. Hara also responded, saying he acknowledges frustrations, but believes a lot of the anger is the result of misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, adding he stands by his actions and has no intention of resigning unless directed to do so by the governor. The governor told us he won't judge anyone. This is not the time for that. Allison Blair, Hawaii News Now.
A Maui woman who suffered severe burns is finally heading home after spending 19 days in the state's only burn unit here in Honolulu. 77-year-old Judy McCorkle and her husband Tom evacuated their Upper Kula home on August 9th. McCorkle returned the next day to find their home still there. She was walking around her property to check on the damage. She says she was wearing slippers, but it wasn't enough to protect her feet.
But I took a step onto what I thought was solid soil. It turned out to be a hot spot. And as I took that step, my foot sank into the hot spot. It's the aftermath of that. People really need to be warned about going into those areas that have burned.
McCorkle is one of 9 Maui fire victims who were treated at Straub's burn unit.
And new at noon, take a look at these new Google satellite images. They've updated their maps to show the devastation in light of the deadly Lahaina wildfires. Now, these aerial images can help homeowners get a bird's eye view of their property if they haven't yet been able to return home. These images show the devastation that has been widespread. The street images on Google Maps, however, remains the same as the Lahaina disaster zone remains off limits to many. And over there on Maui, the governor's housing chief was met with some backlash from Maui residents who fear that the state's plans for emergency housing will cut through red tape too quickly and avoid public input and environmental concerns. Daryl Huff filed this report.
Maui was in a housing crisis even before the fires destroyed hundreds of homes. Housing Chief Nani Medeiros was here to help with those immediate housing needs, as well as build support for the governor's initiative to speed up housing construction in general. But first, she had to deny that she was here as part of a power grab over the redevelopment of Lahaina.
Lahaina is not on the table, not until the community is ready. If and when they are ready, if the working group can assist or support in any way, we will.
Medeiros reassured the Maui Council that her housing working group, titled Build Beyond Barriers, would respect both the sensibilities of the traumatized island and the environmental law, even as she talks about cutting red tape.
We believe that we have to do something drastic to create affordable housing and housing that is affordable for our local workforce.
We don't need an unelected official rubber stamping things as our means of government. That's not what we were intended for. We have a charter for a reason. We have a constitution for a reason.
The reason these regulations are in place is because we live in an incredibly special area with a lot of cultural and a lot of environmental resources that need to be protected.
Yes, it's a crisis, affordable housing, but to take down our rights, to take down democracy.
The idea that it is Nani Medeiros all alone making all of these decisions and so much power, it's absolutely not true.
Medeiros said oversight agencies are part of the group that will certify projects for speedy construction, that they will publish clear rules and definitions of affordability and her authority.
I'm not in charge of redeveloping Maui. I'm not in charge of redeveloping the state of Hawaii.
Medeiros told me that the rebuilding of Lahaina is probably so far off in the future her working group won't even be around. In the meantime, she's calling on people who own vacation rentals or second or third homes to make them available for people who have been displaced by the fires. She says those 10,000 units could be paid for by federal money or insurance. Reporting from Wailuku, Daryl Huff, Hawaii News Now.
2 of the biggest celebrities on Earth, Oprah and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, are teaming up to help Maui. They've created a fund to put money directly into the hands of people who need it now. All eligible adults who lost their homes in Lahaina and Kula can get $1,200 a month through the recovery period. Here's more on their announcement.
We're calling it the People's Fund of Maui because every dollar that you send is going to go into an account that goes directly to the people. We have put $10 million to start the fund of our own money.
Oprah lives here in Maui. I was raised in these islands. My family are buried in these islands. So just knowing everything that took place, knowing the trauma that has taken place, and knowing that it's going to take a long time to rebuild. Probably get a little worse before it gets a little better, but we're here doing what we could do in our, perhaps in a long-term small way, but we're very, very grateful and also very proud, by the way, of our community.
And the Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa announced today that the Tua Foundation will provide a grant of $108,788 along with 25 Microsoft Surface laptops in support of families on Maui affected by the wildfires. The funds will be awarded to 4 Hawaii-based nonprofit organizations, including the Maui Strong Fund, Aloha United Way, the Maui Food Bank, and the American Red Cross of Hawaii. Along a hillside into Lahaina, a solemn memorial is growing. Our Chelsea Davis spoke with the family behind 115 white crosses.
Dozens of white crosses line the fence along the Lahaina bypass. Each one represents a lost loved one. And organizers tell me they will keep adding, so everyone will be remembered. As the list of fatalities grow and more victims are identified, a new way of honoring lost loved ones now emerging along a hillside in Lahaina.
I need to do something. I need to represent the people that have lost, and it's going to be so long before people can properly put their loved ones to rest.
West Maui resident Sunia Schle and her best friend, Shawnee Schweitzer, and her family have been putting up and painting crosses along the Lahaina bypass. Multiple sizes, each one adorned with a flower.
We only have few keiki crosses right now. It's very heart-wrenching every night to go to bed knowing we still don't know about a lot of the children who were left at home as latchkey children while their parents were working. I hope those numbers come out, and I hope their stories are told and their photos are out there.
The Schle and Schweitzer Ohana say they will keep adding crosses, flowers, and flags to this hillside overlooking the heart of Lahaina, where so many lives were lost on August 8th.
For every missing person, we are putting up a ribbon, and if they get found, the ribbon will come down and a cross will come up. We don't want anyone forgotten.
As people drive into Lahaina and leave Lahaina, they hope this visual display will bring comfort and healing. Reporting in Lahaina, Chelsea Davis, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you so much, Chelsea, for that report. Let's take a live look outside now over Honolulu. As a reminder, we have that red flag warning in effect, which means the threat for wildfires is heightened today into this evening. I also want to show you this video from Maui. This was taken along Honopi'ilani Highway looking towards Haleakala. Our team there said winds are brisk and breezy, but of course we are keeping a close eye on all the conditions across the state. For more on this, let's send things over to Guy Hagi.
How's it on this Thursday? It is a first alert weather day because the winds will be getting quite strong, 15 to 30 with gusts up to 50 miles an hour. And because of that, humidity levels will run low. There's not a lot of rain, so there are critical fire conditions for all islands, leeward sides. Now, you can see when you take a look at the satellite, there's just not much rain out there to help us out from those very dry conditions. If anything, over the next couple of days, we'll see some overnight and early morning windward showers that won't amount to very much. Plus, whatever rain comes in will be moving out quickly because of the brisk winds. Today, the winds will be running 15 to 30. Some spots will get gusts upwards of 50 miles an hour. Otherwise, expect lots of sunshine, so high temperatures approaching 90 degrees today. Also, because of the increasing winds, we've got rising surf on the east shores. It's going to be especially dangerous on those east shores with the choppy conditions, and the waves will be picking up size for the next couple of days. And as far as the south shore, we'll have some fun-sized waves today, but a big solid swell is due in Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, so heads up on that. So again, a first alert weather day today, not a whole lot of rain, a surplus of winds, and those fire conditions are high. And then we'll get those winds slightly backing down for the next couple of days. Lighter winds come in on Sunday, and that means we could see some afternoon pop-up showers for a few days after that.
Well, for a second straight day, Idalia continues to batter the East Coast. The surge and the rain from the storm is now flooding out the areas south of the Carolinas. Jay Gray has more on the destruction.
Day 2, and Idalia continues to attack the East Coast. The target now, the Carolinas, pounding beaches, toppling trees, and flooding streets. The storm filling downtown Charleston with water. Still, the city's mayor says it could have been worse.
The wind and the rain impacts were pretty minimal. The exception is that combination of tide and storm surge. We had flooding in our city last night.
In Florida, a day after Idalia made landfall, the damage left behind is overwhelming.
It was the biggest that we've ever seen. We've been here 12 years.
One of the hardest hit areas, Horseshoe Beach.
There's so many houses that are gone and so much stuff around.
This tiny coastal town in ruins. This mother and daughter returning to find their dream home, now a pile of rubble.
It's just material stuff. I know, it's just our retirement, our own life.
It's material. We're going to rebuild.
23 years.
It's going to be good. It's going to be fun.
The wind and water unable to shake the spirit of those who call this battered community home. 61-year-old Dan Ellison, who lost the shrimping business he inherited from his father, says they will come back by pulling together.
Horseshoe Beach is one of the best communities on this coastline to me.
The coastline, scarred by the storm. In many areas, National Guard troops continuing to go door to door.
Spoke with the residents, let them know a second surge was possibly coming, asked them if they wanted to be evacuated, asked them if they had any medical needs.
The needs here, medical and otherwise, are great, but then so is the resolve of these survivors. Again, the recovery in areas like this is really just beginning now, an effort that's going to take a lot of help and a lot of time. Jay Gray, NBC News, Cedar Key.
And earlier today, President Biden was at FEMA headquarters where he spoke about the devastation on the ground on Maui while also reassuring the people of Florida that the Federal Emergency Management Agency will be with them every step of the way as recovery efforts in both Maui and Florida are now underway.
And those out on Maui, it's just amazing. You've seen it. Some of you have been there. It's just pure devastation. That whole part of the island is just leveled. There's nothing left. To the people of Florida and throughout the Southeast, I'm here to make clear that our nation has your back, and we are not going to, we're not going to walk away. We're not going to give up. We're not going to slow down.
And in political news, former President Donald Trump's election interference case in Georgia will be televised. That's according to reporting from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. The AJC says all court proceedings with Trump and 18 co-defendants will be broadcast live on the Fulton County Court YouTube channel. The media will also be allowed to use computers and phones in the courtroom, but not for recording purposes. A pool camera will be assigned for TV and photo media. Trump's defense team pleaded not guilty on his behalf in the case Thursday. He entered the formal plea through court filings instead of being arraigned in person.
Some economy news, a little bit of relief for prospective home buyers. U.S. mortgage rates in the U.S. dropped this week. The 30-year fixed rate mortgage averaged 7.18% in the week ending August 31st. Freddie Mac data shows that's down from 7.23% the week before. Now, this ends a 5-week stretch of increases, but leaves rates stubbornly above 7% amid lingering inflation. Now, a year ago, the 30-year fixed rate was 5.66%. Mortgage rates have surged during the Federal Reserve's historic effort to curb inflation, and actions by the Fed have sent home affordability to its lowest level in almost 4 decades.
A lot of economic news there, but Ashley, I think it's time to share some good news.
Yes,
what do you think?
Let's do it.
Well, let's go ahead and turn to Arlington, Virginia, where a woman there has celebrated turning 108 years old.
She looks fantastic.
I know, right? And she's so spunky. Her name is Vera Punk. Go ahead and listen to her secret for a long life.
My secret is to look ahead, because if I look behind at my life, it would be terrible, and I don't want to do that. I always had friends, a good organizer, and you look ahead and try to be happy.
Look ahead always gives you something to look forward to.
That.
Some of her hobbies include yoga and fashion, and again, just being happy all around. We love to see this. Happy birthday to her, and thank you all so much for watching This Is Now. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Aloha.